Hey there again, it's me, your favorite rapping teacher, Mr. Schulman. So I want to get right back to the story, so let's get to it. We have this last line on page 9 says, I've gone to see the Sing Anga, he told my father. And whoever ate that bubblegum will be sorry. Suddenly I was terrified. I'd heard what the Sing Anga could do to a person. In addition to delivering death and disease, the wizards controlled armies of witches who could kidnap me during the night and shrink me into a worm. Ugh. I'd even heard about them turning children into stones, leaving them to suffer an eternity in silence. Already, I could feel the Sing Anga watching me, plotting his evil. With my heart racing, I ran into the forest behind my house to try to escape. But it was no use. I felt the strange warmth of his magic eyes shining through the trees. He had me. At any moment, I would emerge, that means come out, from the forest as a beetle or a trembling mouse to be eaten by the hawks. Knowing my time was short, I hurried home to where my father was plucking a pile of maize, that's corn, and tumbled into his lap. It was me, I shouted, tears running down my cheeks. I ate the stolen gum. I don't want to die, Papa. Please, don't let them take me. My father looked at me for a second and shook his head. It was you, eh? He said, then kind of smiled. Didn't he realize I was in trouble? Well, he said, and his knees popped as he rose from his chair. My father was a big man. Don't worry, William. I'll find the traitor and explain. I'm sure we can work something out. Wow, that's a pretty rational father, don't you think? That afternoon, my father walked 5 miles to the traitor's house and told him what had happened. And even though I'd only eaten a few of the gumballs, he paid the man for the entire bag, which was nearly all the money we possessed. That evening after supper, my life having been saved, I asked my father if he truly believed I was in trouble. He became very serious. Oh, yes, we were just in time, he said, then started laughing so hard his chair began to squeak. William, who knows what was in store for you? My fear of wizards and magic only grew worse whenever Grandpa told stories. If you saw my grandpa, you might think he was a kind of wizard himself. He was so old that he couldn't remember the year he'd been born. So cracked and wrinkled that his hands and feet looked as if they were chiseled from stone. And his clothes. Grandpa insisted on wearing the same tattered coat and trousers every day. Whenever he emerged from the forest, puffing on his hand-rolled cigar, you'd think one of the trees had grown legs and started walking. It was Grandpa who told me the greatest story about magic I'd ever heard. Long ago, before the giant maize and tobacco farms came along and cleared away our great forests, when a person could lose track of the sun inside the trees, the land was rich with antelope, zebra, and wildebeest, also lions, hippos, and leopards. Grandpa was a famous hunter, so good with his bow and arrow that it became his duty to protect his village and provide its meat. One day, while Grandpa was out hunting, he came across a man who'd been killed by a poisonous pit viper. That's a snake. He alerted the nearby village, and soon after they returned with their witch doctor. The Sing Anga took one look at the dead man, then reached into his bag and tossed some medicines into the trees. Seconds later, the earth began to move as hundreds of vipers slithered out of the shadows and gathered around the corpse, the dead body. Hypnotized by the spell, the wizard then stood on the dead man's chest and drank a cup of potion, which seemed to flow through his feet and into the lifeless body. Then, to Grandpa's amazement, the dead man's fingers began to move, and he sat up. Together, he and the wizard inspected the fangs of each snake, looking for the one that had bitten him. Believe it? Grandpa told me. I saw this with my own eyes. I certainly believed it, along with every other story about witches and things unexplained. Whenever I went down the dark trails alone, my imagination spun wild. What scared me most were the Ghoul Wamkulu. the magical dancers that lived in the murky shadows of the forest. They sometimes appeared in the daylight, performing in tribal ceremonies when we Chua boys became men. They were not real people, we were told, but spirits of our dead ancestors sent to roam the earth. Their appearance was ghastly. Each had the face and skin of animals, and some walked on stilts to appear taller. Once I saw one scurry backward up a pole like a spider, and when they danced, it was as if 1,000 men were inside their bodies, each moving in the opposite direction. Yeah. We're going to stop there, pick it up another time. I hope you enjoy this read aloud, and be safe. I'll see you soon.